Okay, so today we're going to learn the third method on solving quadratic equations. Now, yesterday we learned that if we have a quadratic equation, we can put it in standard form, and we can get 0 on one side, which is what standard form is, and everything else on this side, the x squared, the x, and the number. And we can use the quadratic formula, because we can know what a and b and c are and plug them into the formula. The day before, we learned that we can do the same thing, put it in standard form, and factor this side if it's factorable, and then we can take the two factors and set them equal to 0 and find the two x numbers. So we can do it two ways to find the two x numbers where it's crossing the x-axis, right? Because there's two x-intercepts, or two solutions, or two zeros. Now, one of the things that we've been doing now is whenever it's in standard form, you have a 0 on one side if there is no y in the equation. So the 0 is over here. There's sometimes so they give you the equation with the y already in it, in which case standard form is putting y by itself and the x squared, the x, and the number over here. The y and the 0 are kind of interchangeable as long as you've got everything else on the other side. Why is that? We talked about this today in class, but we are looking for a solution, right? That's what we've been doing, and a solution is an x-intercept. So where is the x-intercept on the graph? It's where the parabola is crossing the x-axis. If you've got a point that's on the x-axis, there's a number here for the x, and the y number will always be 0 because you run over and you don't jump. So the y number is always 0 when we're looking for an x-intercept. Is this the y number right here? And am I going to substitute it in for 0? Yes, so both of these are interchangeable when everything else is over here on this side because we're looking for the x-intercept and the y will equal 0 in that. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to solve quadratic equations, and if there's no y in it, we're going to get it in standard form, and where the 0 is, we're going to let that be my y equals when I put it in the calculator, and then I just type in this thing and go trace around it and find the x-intercepts. So here we go. Here's the first one. I want to find the solution, which means I'm solving this for x. And since it's quadratic, I am going to look for the x-intercepts. I'm just going to put it in my calculator, trace around it, and find the x-intercepts. Is it in standard form? Yes. So where do I put the y in this so I can put it in my equation? Where the 0 is my y. So I'm going to pretend this is a y. And now it's in y equals format, and I can put it in my calculator. You go to the home key and the graph icon, because I want to graph it in the calculator. And when you go to that graph icon, it already has f of x equals in there in the top, and you're just going to type in the rest of the equation. So you're going to type in x squared plus 5x plus 6 and hit enter. And it's going to give you a lovely picture of a parabola. And then to find the solutions or the x-intercepts, you put it in trace mode. So menu, look for the word trace, and we're tracing the graph, so menu 5-1, trace around it and find the x-intercepts. That is all we're doing on these today, and this is what we're going to do for the STAR test. We will use the quadratic formula and doing factoring after the STAR test to get you ready for next year's algebra math classes and to get ready for college entrance exams. But for the STAR test, we're going to use the graphing calculator. All right? So when you put this in the calculator, hope you've gone and done that, and you come back and you're checking. It crossed the x-axis at -2, and it also crossed the x-axis at -3. Those were the two x-intercepts. Those are the two solutions to this equation. X can be -2 and make this true, or x can be -3 and make it true. Okay, so if you got this, pause the video, go do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or work a few and come back and check, and work a few and come back and check. This one also in standard form already because 0 is over here by itself, and I've got the x squared, the x, and the number on the other side. So what am I going to substitute in for 0? Yes, y. So this is my y equals, which means it is in y equals format. Just go put it in the calculator, trace around it. It winds up being x crossed the x-axis at -4 and 5. Those are the two numbers. Now pause the video and go work some on your own, and then come back. Same thing, this one's in standard form, so just go trace around it. Hopefully you've done that and you're coming back and checking. It crossed at 0.5, and it also crossed at 1.33. Now, on a multiple choice test, the answer may not be 0.33 because this is repeating here, this 0.33333 forever and ever. On a multiple choice test, they might do that, or they might give it to you like this or like this. If they give you the fraction ones, you need to put your fractions in the calculator and convert them to the decimal and see which one matches. Now, if you put 4/3 in the calculator, it also equals 1.3, and it keeps repeating. If you want to put this in the calculator, you can't type it in like this. This is the whole number 1, so you're going to write 1 and put a point, because it's the whole number 1, and this is your fraction. So the 1/3 you can put in the calculator and let it change it to a decimal by doing 1/3 in the calculator and hit Control Enter. And it will tell you the fraction is 0.33, and it's repeating. So be able to convert your fractions into the decimal answer that the calculator is going to give you. All right, number 4. Hopefully you've already done that one and you're just checking your answer. It was -0.4 and 1. Now on the next one that you were doing, it is not in standard form. There's no 0 over here. I can't make the y be an 8. It won't work that way. Y has to be 0. So I need to get rid of this 8 and move it to the other side. So how do we get rid of adding 8? You subtract 8. If you do it to one side, yes, you do it to the other side. We rewrite this. This is now 0, which is what I want. 0 equals. This is 6x squared. None of these are like terms, so you cannot add them together. So we're going to rewrite it. X squared always comes first. The x to the first power always comes second, and then also in the end is always the constant. That's 8. So if you wanted to do the quadratic formula, they ask you what a, b, and c are. This is a is 6, b is negative 12, c is negative 8. This is also the y-intercept. It's crossing the y-axis at negative 8. Smiley face or frowny face? Smiley face, because a is positive. All the things that we know about this just looking at it. So you put it in the calculator. You came up to two lovely numbers, which were not too lovely. They were negative 0.528. So negative 0.528, and the other one was x equals 2.53. They're not always pretty numbers, these x-intercepts or solutions. This one over here, same thing. You got rid of the 20 by moving it to the other side, so then it was in standard format. Can we put k's in the calculator? No, we always put x's in the calculator. So when you typed it in, you always had y equals already, and this is 9x squared minus 5x, subtract 20. Go trace around it, find the x-intercepts, and they were negative 1.24 and 1.79. That was a positive one on that one. This one, again, you got rid of this 5b and moved it to the other side. So add 5b to both sides. This became your 0. And then on this side, it's b squared first, and then the plus 5b, and then your minus 6. So there it is in standard form. This is now your y equals. So y equals, and then type the rest of that in. Go trace around it. And this one wound up being b was, and of course you use x's here instead of b's when you type it in. X equals 1, and the other one was b equals negative 6. Those were the two numbers which crossing the x-axis. This one, when you did it, again, you had to get it in standard format by getting the 2x to the other side, so we subtract 2x on both sides. This became your 0, so there's your y equals. And then when you rewrote these pieces, you had 7x squared minus the 2x minus 14. When you put it in the calculator, those were your two x-intercepts. Easy peasy. This is really easy on the STAR test as long as you know your vocab and you know how to use your graphing calculator. And I will teach you everything, so watch the videos. Come to school if you can, but we will get you there. Okay? Next step. This time they give you the lovely equation. Is it already in y equals format? Yes. Can we just type it in the calculator? Yes. They want you to find the vertex, so hopefully you've already done that and you're just coming back and checking answers. But you just type it in the calculator and trace around it, find whatever you're looking for. Yes, the vertex was 0, negative 9, and the picture looked like this. So this is a minimum. It's a low spot, so you circle min. And what is the minimum number? It's the y in the vertex. That's the lowest point on the y-axis. If you take this straight across to the y-axis, you're at negative 9 on the y-axis. So that's what we're looking for, is the lowest spot or the highest spot. In this case, it was the lowest spot. And of course, the axis of symmetry is the x number, and it always starts with x equals. You can see the x right there in the word axis. So the equation of that vertical line that goes right through the middle is x equals 0. It was right on the y-axis, wasn't it? It was. It was right on the y-axis because x is 0 right there. So the equation of the y-axis is x equals 0. Who knew? But yeah, now you know. The two zeros where it crossed the x-axis were 3 and negative 3. And of course, the y-intercept was negative 9 when you first did menu 5.1. It popped up on that. Now, the second one, they give you the graph. So they ask you all these things about the lovely graph. So hopefully you pause the video. You've already done it. And you're coming back to check your answers. So the vertex, of course, was at 2, negative 2, because from the origin, you went right 2 and down 2. X always first, y always second. It is a minimum, so you circle that. And what was this lowest y number over here? This y number was a negative 2, and you can also see it in the vertex. That's always, the y number is always your max or min number. The axis of symmetry is always the x number, and it's always x equals 2. It's the equation of that vertical line that goes right down the middle of my parabola. And then zeros, we're crossing at 4 and 0. So 0 and 4. And the y-intercept, where's it crossing the y-axis? You're at 0 on the y-axis. So there's your y-intercept. All right, now the last two down here are some word problems. So this is what we're going to be doing the next 2 days. Coach News heard that shooting the ball with a higher arc would improve or increase his chance of making a basket, which is true. He decided to shoot the ball higher. The equation, and here's the equation, which is a quadratic equation, represents his shot. How high did his basketball go? So all you got to do is they gave you this lovely equation. You type it in and look at the picture, right? We want to know how high did the ball go. Here's the path of the ball. It left his hand here at time 0. He's standing here and he shoots the ball. The ball goes up and comes down, hopefully through the basket and hits the ground, right? So I don't care about this part of the graph over here because that happened, and that's time 0. We don't care, or before 0. This is like negative time. That doesn't really exist in real world. We're only concerned with from here to here. The ball's not going to go through the ground, so it stops right there. I'm only concerned with here to here in a real world situation. How high did the ball go? Has nothing to do with my x numbers. It's all about y. This is height over here. This would be your feet on this one. So I want to know how high the ball went, which is my maximum. So just trace around the parabola till you get to the max and see what the y number is. How high did it go? So go do that. Come back. Let me know what you got. Okay, so the height, hopefully you did that, was 18.5, and it was feet. So I think they talked about feet in here. I'm not sure. Maybe they didn't give us feet, but I would say it's feet. I don't know if they said feet or not. Okay. Then Coach Settles is terrible at baseball, but he tries very hard to hit the ball. One day when the sun is in his eyes, he swung with everything he had and finally hit the ball. The equation, they give you the equation. Can you put it in the calculator? Yes, it's y equals. So we can look at the parabola. Represents the path of the baseball. So I'm going to see the flight of the baseball in the parabola. How far did his hit go? So we typed it in the calculator. We're looking at it. Here's the y-axis. Here's the x-axis. I don't care about negative time going this way. I only care about when it hit the ball right here. It went up in the air and came down and hit the ground right there, right? It doesn't go anyplace else. It doesn't go underground. I don't care about this part. Now, the question was not how high it went, but how far. So I don't care about the vertical height of the ball. I care about, he's standing right here, how far did the ball go when it hit the ground? So I am looking for the x-intercept. I don't want the x-intercept over here. I want the x-intercept over here. So we're going to trace around it and find the positive x-intercept and see what that number is. What is that x-intercept? So go do that. Okay, hopefully you've done it. Coming back and you're checking your answer. Yes, it was 20.3 feet. That's how far it went. I don't know if it said feet in there or not. I'm assuming it's feet. Maybe it's something else. But anyway, the number was 20.3, right? Okay, that's the end of this video. I'll do a second one for the other two pages because they're pretty quick and multiple choice done. See you guys tomorrow. You're getting good at this.